Hello, this is Daryl Cummings with Cummings Athletics. I'm here with George Pilkington. George is a former high school tennis coach that was very successful. Has two daughters playing at the Division I level. And George, how you doing today?
Doing good.
All right. George and I, we both do a little bit of consulting from time to time. You can find out more information about Cummings Athletics by going to cummingsathletics.com. Today, George and I, we're going to talk about some myths that go on in the tennis world and some of our experiences and so forth. George, would you like me to start off with the first one?
Oh, I think the first one is you.
Okay. First one that kind of gives me a little bit of heartburn is sometimes I'll hear the American tennis parents, George, blaming the USTA. They blame the USTA for maybe the tournament structures, or the kid's not developing, or the USTA needs to do this and the USTA needs to do that. First of all, the USTA is a member-owned organization made up of committees, and each section has its own autonomy. So I don't find that the USTA is making parents sign up for 30 tournaments a year. I mean, the parent has to push the button, has to make the payment, George. So if they're dissatisfied with a particular tournament or the series of tournaments or so forth, or the way their kid is developing, I just don't think you can blame it on the USTA. I know you had some other views you wanted to share about qualifying for tournaments and stuff like that for some of the larger national ones, or maybe what the college coaches are maybe looking at. But what's your thoughts on that? You got a different take?
Well, I mean, the take is, I mean, yeah, I mean, you make a good point. I mean, but I think the issue is that the parents or those that are helping the kids move along to the collegiate level, they feel like they're a victim of the system, that they're having to do whatever they have to do to get to that point. But it is as much as we hate to talk about it, it has become a points game. It's all about collecting points, and in the way that some of the changes anyhow the USTA made have been fantastic. Others are tough, where you can get your kid can be top 100, top 150 nationally, and not even qualify for a sectional tournament because they're only playing the higher level national tournaments. And now the USTA said, hey, look, you're going to have to participate in the sectionals, or the sectional tournaments, X amount of sectional tournaments to be able to participate in the national tournaments. Right. And your view on that, what you were saying at one time was, hey, we're talking about each section is separate, right?
Yeah, each section, from our experience, has its own autonomy. So, for example, like you'll find in Texas, the entry fees are cheaper, and they tend to get the better kids together a little bit more. Northern Cal will use universal tennis ratings to help seed and organize their events so they can get better matches for their particular players. There's no doubt that there's some flawed tournaments out there, and I think specifically when you look at it, if we use the universal tennis rating, which goes from 1 to 16, if you're looking at tournaments and there's a level 10 kid in there, and they're playing a level 5 kid first round, the structure just isn't right. The object of any successful competitive structure, tournament structure, is getting the best kids together and not putting all these extra requirements for them to go participate and play some lower kids, and everybody ends up with some crummy matches. So, but as far as the USTA, it's hard to blame an organization that's made up of volunteers, and it might be just two people who've organized this particular segment of tournaments in their respective section or state. So, yeah, there are some tournaments that need to be looked at as far as better, and maybe not even increasing the frequency is not the right answer, I think. I mean, there's too many tournaments nowadays, and college coaches or players talking about rankings. We know the 12s are playing the 14s, the 14s are playing the 16s, 16s play the 18s, 18s don't even play at all. So it's not really an age group thing. But my point being there, as far as blaming the USTA, just because they have a bunch of opportunities out there, and maybe you overplay your kid and burn them out, or that we put too much responsibility on the USTA. You don't have to sign up for every tournament or every event. It's not a perfect pathway, but your thoughts?
Well, I mean, again, I'll word it differently though. I think that it's a path that parents and the kids feel like they have to take to get to that point. And when they show up to a tournament, the goal is singular. It's not to get a third set tiebreak in the first round. The goal is to get just as many points racked up as they possibly can to get higher in the rankings. And I think that it's all because of the language that that the collegiate coaches speak. They're trying to speak some. That's what's going to be my next point. Is that in time the UTR, Universal Tennis Rating System, is becoming used on different tiers. Not just to tell somebody what they are. They're using it now for tournament seedings. Only because, hey, how many times have we seen the number one seed go out in the first round? And it's only because the number one seed they play 37 tournaments a year.
Point chasing.
And they've racked up these points. And we no matter what section you're in, there's always that kid, boys and girls. There's always that kid that is not in the top 10 or 20, but we all know he or she should be. They, for whatever financial reasons, academic reasons, well-rounded life reasons, they're not chasing points every single weekend. So, and I completely get what you're saying, but because I know, and you have too with your kids, you get wrapped up in the end game, and you get wrapped up in the end game of playing collegiate tennis, but you do it when they're 10. That's the downside. You're doing it when they're 10 years old, 11 years old, and 12 years old, where, in my case, you try to find that even balance. But let's face it, while in July, while we're out here on the court working hard for 2 or 3 hours, their friends are on the beach. And because of Instagram and Snap this and Facebook, that they know. They know they're there.
Well, that leads us into our next myth, which is the 12 and under champion. Thought about the 12 and under champion, or we may call it the 12 and under curse. The kid who becomes ranked number one, and we've seen parents get so wrapped up into this thing because they treat it like the Super Bowl, and the kid goes and they're playing more tournaments than a freaking pro per year. Chasing points, and the kid gets ranked number one in the 12s, and then later on they go to play 14 and 16 under in tennis, and now they start to lose, and the parents are wigging out because, hey, little Johnny's losing, we got to get us a new pro, and so forth. But it's just that little Johnny knew how to keep the ball in the court and not spray it around the place. And we see this happen where they focus too much on this at an early age, start thinking about all these opportunities, and their kids, every kid that gets to a pretty decent level looks great at 12 and under, but they go through that freaking journey of putting too much time into it and too much effort, energy, and they kind of burn the kid up, and maybe we don't even see that kid playing at 16 or 18.
Of course. And what you're talking about, and you had talked about what may have changed is their spraying balls. All right. So as they get older, things have changed. All right. But let me tell you what really changes. They realize that there's more out there than tennis. They get a driver's license. They may get a boyfriend or a girlfriend. They realize their friends, again, are at the beach hanging out on a Saturday in their own court. There are many more things that comes into play. And at 12, that 12-year-old champion, this is in every section, that 12-year-old champion, there's a lot to live up to. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot to live up to for the next 6 years, thinking that I'm going to continue to be number one. And it just doesn't. I don't want to say it doesn't ever work out that way, but it's tough. It's really hard. And in the case where you do have success at an early age, and to say that it's a curse, it's harsh, but it really is, because when do you want to, me and you have talked about this, when do you really want to peak? Do you want to peak at 12?
Probably
13?
not.
I know one thing. Hey, look, it was you one time that was at a tournament and said, hey, drama, tough match, and you said, hey, look, you looked around and said, I don't see any college coaches.
Mhm.
And there's no scholarships being offered today, but you would think this is the Super Bowl, and it's just another weekend.
Yeah, if you're pursuing that dream of playing some college tennis, there's I don't think the coach really doesn't care what you did in the 12 and unders or the 10 and unders. But a thought that came to mind why you're giving some feedback there is, if we focus on this 12 and under about the rankings and the trophies and all that kind of stuff, that becomes extrinsic motivation. And at some point, people give up because of extrinsic motivation. But if you're talking about improving your level of play, enjoyment of the game, socialization, these are intrinsic things that allow many people to enjoy the game of tennis for the rest of their lives. And that's where this tournament structure sometimes does get a little bit outrageous, because we're recognizing them too much, putting too much attention on the ranking of being ranked number one in the 12s, and that that extrinsic situation. Eventually, they get smart enough and they go, "Hey, that's just not enough reason to play. The trophy and the ranking is not enough reason to play, but socialization is. It may be improving my level of play is that's where the more successful players seem to gravitate to." And excuse me, this isn't limited to American tennis. When I was a college coach, I recruited two players from South Africa. One of them was Isaac van der Merwe. Isaac reached the Final Four in multiple national college tournaments, earned an ATP ranking top 110. But when we got Isaac, we also had another kid, Johan van Rooyen.
Mm-hmm.
And Johan was the king of the 12s and 14s. And Isaac would tell the story that when he would play against this kid in South Africa, his parents would check him out of the hotel that day, because he knew that was a loss in the 12s and 14s. And poor Johan kind of got he benefited in a bad way from the curse, because it keeps you from developing and so forth. But I didn't know if you had anything you want to shed on that.
Well, first of all, we talk about the 12-year-old curse. It's not. It could be the 16, 14, 18. This happens. I mean, we can go down the pro. We can talk about Donald Young, who was going to be the big thing, and they say he's not, but he's a pretty daggone he's a pretty daggone play. I mean, they go, this guy didn't. He came through the system, and he's not what we thought. Well, what exactly did you think?
Yeah,
right. Because anybody out there who's not already there would sell their soul to have his game.
You're talking pro tennis in America. So pro tennis in America, they expect to see multiple slams.
Right.
Here's Donald Young, which I believe he's well in the top 50. I think he even got as high as 30 or so.
Right.
But even if he's 90 in the world, that's the American. The American sports fan, the poor guy needs to become Pete Sampras.
My point being is that if you took that example of Donald Young, this is what we're looking at and comparing to in the junior level.
Right.
In other words, if we say this cat it didn't make it, then what are we saying about the junior tennis player?
Yeah, and the parents we get caught up in this branding situation where everybody wants to say, "Hey, my kid plays for Stanford," and they're not as proud to say, "My kid plays for Daniel Boone Community College."
Right.
Now, Daniel Boone Community College may have a charter bus. I mean, some of these smaller schools.
That goes back to the same smile, though. We talked about the same smile. On signing day, it doesn't matter whether it's Daniel Boone Community College. Is that a real?
No, Daniel Boone Community is folded.
I have no idea.
Not him play.
Okay. So whether it is that school or it is Stanford, or it is any of them, it's the same smile anyway. Mm-hmm. And we forget that. We completely forget that.
Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of those extrinsic kind of rewards and everything that we sort of discuss here with 12 and under, here's a myth that I think we hear. We've heard this one often. Hey, I'm spending this money on my kids, tennis lessons and all that kind of stuff. So my kid's going to get a tennis scholarship. And I know you've talked to many tennis parents that I'm not sure you get that return back, do you?
Well, look, we all have our stories, and we all want our kid to succeed, and we will do anything in our means to make sure they can. Right. And with that, there are some that have more means than others. And I've heard stories, and I know of stories of someone who at age 14 who told me they had taken out a second mortgage on their house to put their kid into a full-time tennis academy. and they ended up getting a scholarship at an in-state public school. So if you do the math, you go, it was just a bad. Look, they're not. I really don't want them to run my business that way. But hey, look. That's part of the machine that you get wrapped up in. Is that the more lessons, the more whatever, the more money you put in this thing, it can become bigger than what it is, and that immediately ties into our culture right now. Right, because it's the right now culture. If we spend the money to get it right now, this kid's going to be a star. The problem is there's always someone out there spending more than you or more lessons than you or what have you.
Yeah, and from research that I've done, if you go to CummingsAthletics.com and you click Cummings Athletics here, you'll find a bunch of PDF files on some research that's been done. But George, I'll go to these college coaching seminars for these kids that are interested in college, and I'll hear that they're doing 80 to 100 formal lessons a year. They're playing 50 or 60 matches a year. The guru that teaches them the 80 to 100 formal lessons, that could be in 1 hour of private or a clinic, that the guru that teaches them actually sees them play less than 5% of the time. So that's very expensive, and it just doesn't work. I mean, the kid needs to play as they're developing, probably at the age of 14 or past, 120 to 140 matches a year. And these matches can be in practice. It doesn't have to be a tournament. I know Allen Iverson wasn't like that, but they can be in practice. And if you get them 120, 140, and you get the kids to play with some people who have mortgages, who, the local lawyer, some of the established USTA league lady players, that these adults are going to mature their game in a more efficient way than buying lessons and hours and all that kind of stuff. Because what you wanted to get into is that if you start chasing rankings, that's kind of an extrinsic thing. And so you can either chase a ranking or you can earn a higher level of play. A higher level of play always kind of wins out there. So,
well, I can't. Let me see. What's funny is I heard somebody one time say, "Hey, and they go, hey, look, my kid does this and takes X amount of lessons in a week and does these group sessions in the course of a week, and they're ranked here, or their UTR is there." And I heard someone one time actually say, and it's funny, I get it, I knew exactly what they meant. Hey, imagine how good your kid would be if you spent more, right? And it was tongue in cheek, like, hey man, just think, you just keep spending, they'll keep getting better. Normally the one who says that, and usually it's internalized, as I actually said, is the coach, right? And they'll go, hey, look, Johnny had a tough loss on Saturday, which again, we talk about things that we hate to hear. When I hear he lost to someone he shouldn't have, right? Yeah. Which we giggle when we hear that. And then the coach goes, hey, no big deal. We're going to ramp it up, right? Because that's a weak moment. You know what I mean? They're not going to say we need more lessons when there is a big win. They're going to ramp it up when there was a tough loss, because it's a vulnerable moment. Because again, everyone wants to provide for their kid to get better, and if they think one more lesson will do it, that's what they do. That's why the machine, I think, is the system or the way we do it. I don't think is the issue. I think, or the person, I should say, it's the machine that we all jump into to get to the end result.
And I know with college coaches, when they're looking at players, you ask someone, hey, you play tennis? Yeah. What level of play are you, or what's your tennis activity about? And they go, hey, I take 2 lessons a week and I do 3 clinics. That's like asking a high school person, hey, do you speak Spanish? And they go, oh, yeah. I had 4 years of high school Spanish, which usually means they don't speak high school Spanish. Well, let's progress on to a topic that we kind of touched on. Tell me about the USTA junior point race. I mean, how people get wrapped up into that. And did you ever get wrapped up in that?
Well, no, and there's a story I tell about that. I go to the girls' 18s nationals in Memphis, and they would have the coaches set up inside, and you would go and you either have an appointment or you would just wander around talking. I had one coach tell my daughter immediately, but before, you know, she waited in this line, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm. Is it like trying to greet the Pope or Elvis?
No.
Was it
We did go to Gracetown, by the way.
Okay.
But before she had sat down, he said, hey, look, you know, I'm only talking to players in the top 75. And so her butt never hit the seat because at the time she wasn't in the top 75. And you know, we just brushed it off and went on to the next thing. But then I go, top 75 of what?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Is that
Right.
top 75 American? Because what if she was playing in Italy in the last year on the European tour, and now she's, you know, they don't ask the right questions. So the point thing, it look, in my mind, it's part of, again, the machine. There are still coaches that only speak points, and when I say still, there are more and more and more talking about UTR, Universal Tennis Rating, and less and less and less talking points. But there are still some. So when they talk about where are you ranked, well, first of all, you know, if you kind of get to that point, and let's say you set a meeting with a coach or you talk to a coach and they don't already know or wouldn't know your UTR, that may be a problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, you may be talking to the wrong.
I mean, we've talked about this before. Sometimes we give a college coach too much. We put them up on the pedestal a little bit too high. College coaches, you know, some of them are fantastic, but just like the recruits, some are on the rise and some are on the decline a little bit. So you got to stay up with that kind of information. But as a college coach, don't you really want to know what number will this kid play for me? And how many matches? Will they win 70% of their matches against ranked opponents? Will they set 70% of their matches against conference opponents? So as opposed to, hey, what number are you ranked? Now, when I was a college coach, if I had that line of people, George, I just said, hey, what's your parents' net worth? Because I'm trying to build a freaking indoor. But to turn someone off, you know, you don't know.
Yeah.
This kid may be the friend of the president of the university.
Well, it's even bigger than that. Like in that event, I get it, right? There's a period of time, and by the way, it was the girls' 18s clay courts
in Memphis.
Right. So let's think about that for a minute. The group of girls that are there are pretty good anyway, right? In theory, that's what got them there. But you kind of go, hey, you're only at this thing for 2 or 3 days. Take a minute and ask the right questions. And like you said, it may lead into something else. And it could very well be, you talk about someone on the rise. And let's face it, the goal in this whole thing, and I want you to tell me if I'm right, wrong, or otherwise, but everyone at some point in time is going to peak. And if from a junior standpoint, if that's not the case, every junior would be on tour. They wouldn't be playing at Memphis. They would be in, you know, playing a Masters tournament, right?
Sure.
So they all peak at the goal is to peak at the right time, or at least to make contact with the coaches that you may be interested in when you think it's the right time or the right time to peak. Because I think that the points thing, it's all about cause and effect. I think that the effect of this thing are the points. The cause is the whole game that we got to play to get there. And I did the point thing. You know, were we willing to sacrifice all of the weekends, the social life? And I've had more, hey, why this tennis thing's going on. My son or daughter, they're not going to date. They're not going to have a car. Right, they're not going to be able to go out on the weekend, and I would scratch my head and go, "What exactly are we?"
Yeah, there's certainly got to be balance in there, and going back to that college coach of trying to, what we do in our consulting business is we actually reverse it, and instead of the college coach saying I'm only going to take a top 75, we actually reverse the process that where we do our projection. hey, based upon your level of play and your results, we have you projected to play top 6 for these Ivy League schools. And based on that information, now they're actually going to the coach, knowing where they stand, a little bit more.
But stop right there. But that doesn't always work.
We
have talked about.
No,
you could have a girl that's a 9.7, almost a 10.
Yeah.
Talk to a team that only has one level 9, and the coach goes, "Yeah, I don't know exactly where you're going to fit. Let's talk about whatever." And it could be for a couple of reasons. Either they're just disconnected, or they're one of the few that aren't using the UTR, and they're going by the point chasers, which is what this myth was the point chasers.
Yeah, I mean, you got the point chasing, you got using the level of play to focus on a player, or you can go old school. I mean, old school. Hey, my guys are playing in this tournament. Why don't you play in that tournament? Let's all just go play some tennis, and we're going to see who everybody is. And we've had some tournaments like that on the local level. I remember your daughter playing in one with college players, and I think she got some win against college players at a young age. When that's a tournament structure that needs to exist more. They're starting to do it more, but more of those kinds of tournaments where instead of it being the pathways clearer, so you start to integrate junior players playing against college players and former college players, and now not only do you get a better indicator of where they belong or what their level of play is and where they would be a better fit, but you also are passing off experience to one another. Right. Because if you put a 14-year-old girl with a 14-year-old girl and expect them to learn tennis, and then that hey,
you're going to get a lot of "Are you sures?"
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I'm not sure. I'm positive.
But during the match, you're going to get a lot of "Are you sure?"
That's what you're going to
get.
Yeah. God. Hey, listen. I had a group of kids the other night, and this is the Division I team. I mean, without going through the names, I mean, we had 5 girls, the 5 best girls in the area, got them together, and these are 9, 7s, and I mean, one's going to the Naval Academy, one's going to Delaware, and the other one's going to Division I schools. How do you question a line call? And it's, "Are you sure?" Well, are you sure? If I say to you and you're on the baseline, like, "George, are you sure?" No, well, I wouldn't say your name. "Are you sure?" You never change your call because I just embarrass you. But if I get you to come up to the net, "Hey, George, I saw that I respected your call. I saw it good, and I looked you in the eye." Yeah. So, and that's what happens. That "Are you sure?" thing is from 14-year-old girls playing against 14-year-old girls.
But can I stop
too many times?
I know, but
too many times.
Here's the problem. But what you just described, they don't even do in real life. You said come to the net and talk.
Yeah.
There's no talking.
No, you're right.
You can say go to your bag and get your phone. Send me a text.
Yeah. Go Snapchat. Let's Snapchat this thing out.
Send me a text.
You sure?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. So,
but that's not integrating kids with adults. I mean, when I was a kid, I played I played against some men, and I tried that methodology. I come up to the net. Hey, they had this guy kind of gave me a bad line call and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that, I didn't."
This is you saying that?
Yeah, I didn't see it that way. And then he threatened me with bodily harm, and I said, "Well, hey, man, I'm okay with that now, But if you go to the French tournaments, you ask the kid, "Hey, when is the first time you beat someone when's the first time you beat a man in front of his wife in tennis?" Well, tennis, he goes, like age 13. "When's the first time you were threatened by someone about your life?" "Oh, it's the same match."
Yeah.
But point, what we're saying in there though is I'm not sure what we're saying.
I completely. Let's digress back to the original topic. We're talking about points.
Yeah,
we're talking about points. So let me ask you a question.
I'm ready.
So we talk about our parents get together and we go, my kid is working hard, which is a word that we don't like to use because they all are, right? Yeah. So we're working hard. First of all, before I'm going to stop there and ask one question, then we'll pick back up. Do you recommend in any level junior player telling a college coach, or more importantly, a parent telling a college coach about their child that they work hard?
No.
Right?
No.
Of course.
That's my biggest turnoff. Is work hard means to me that they don't have talent. You know, when I hear, hey, we're
No,
working hard.
But you know what they mean. You know what they mean.
Yeah, but then,
these are just words that we use.
Yeah, but if I'm bored, I would ask them, just tell them, what do you mean by working hard?
Right.
Well, what I mean, George, is they take 5 lessons a week. You know,
right.
Also, that's working hard. What do you mean by work? I don't. First of all, we're playing tennis. We're not putting a roof on a house.
In July, I say that all the time.
We're not,
yeah. You're not putting a roof on July.
How hard can it be? They don't want to work hard. I like a little Federer in that thing. Like, hey, I enjoy the passion. I enjoy the training. I'm not working hard.
Okay. All right. So let me pick back up. So the parent says, "Hey, my kid is working very hard."
Oh, that's even better.
Okay. And but we're losing our scholarships, and I'm going to use their word, then I'm going to use the word that we use.
Yeah.
But we're losing our scholarships to these foreign players.
Oh.
And I go, well, first of all, it's probably not. It's not really foreign. They're international. Let's go ahead and check that box. It's international players.
Foreign something in your stomach makes you stick.
That's it, right? So there's these international players, and I go, okay, well then let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask you this: these international players, wherever they come from,
right,
all over the globe, they're everywhere. Are they chasing points? Now these are the players, boys and girls, that are supposedly taking the scholarship of your child,
right,
who's chasing points on the weekend, but are they chasing points to take that spot?
Well, you mean
junior points? Are they chasing
American junior points?
Hey, we can. Okay, let me back up. In Spain,
okay,
are there juniors playing juniors or juniors playing adults? Are they blended in? Are they competing? Or what are they doing?
Spain is two of the most effective countries for developing players. Spain has a ranking. They use a ranking system, but it's the whole country, so it's all different ages. So the one that is the most prevalent in Spain is, you'll find that someone's ranked 200 in the country, but Rafa's one. So they lump everybody together, and so the women play with women and men play with men, and the juniors are all playing and integrated into that one ranking system. Sweden would do the same thing. They had one ranking system, and at the time, and Borg would be one, or Wieland, or those old people, and so it'd be one ranking system. In France, they actually use a rating system. So it has some weird numbers to it, like -26, -15.
But it had meaning.
It had meaning. It's a rating. So so it's a little bit better. So a rank, like for example, the best ranking system in the world, of course, is the ATP and WTA. That's a real ranking system. College tennis has very effective ranking systems. They're all in there together. The flaw in the juniors that we're talking about is the 12s, 14s. They're chasing points in different age groups, and it's not apples against apples.
But that same apples, and that where the UTR ties into. Hey, look, here's what I want to know. Okay, I have these wins, and my kid has these wins, and my kid beat these 3 kids.
Yeah.
I want to know where they're going to school. Right. I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know the 7 degrees to Kevin Bacon thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all relative. Hey, look. Who have you beaten? Who have you played competitive? And when you look at the numbers and this ranking system, they're looking at the single number that's beside your name.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
They have no clue who you've beaten just by going by that to get there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
the
right.
UTR,
Yeah.
you know the journey,
right.
Right. But with this, you don't. And we talk about, which we all know. Anyone who knows anything about the USTA point system, the top boy in the 16s is the same top girl in the 18s.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, right.
It's the same. It's the weird, and they changed that a few years ago, where you can now play. You can play down.
Sure.
Up, excuse me, not down. But it does encourage more play. But when you had talked about like the WTA, ATP, and we say, look, this junior player, and I'm going to segue into another It kind of ties
Yeah,
in.
I'm going to add
Right,
something about
and
that
you
too.
go, and you go. Look, the junior player. Hey, my kid played. It's like an old Saturday Night Live skit where it was all about how many jobs you had. I have 8 jobs. Well, I have 9 jobs. It's a skit. And they go, hey, look, my kid played 48 tournaments. Really? My kid 52.
Mhm.
And then we go look in the pros and we talk about a phenomenal professional player who was a phenomenal junior player who actually worked out right here at Cape Henry Racket Club, and CeCe Bellis, who was 16. And she's limited through the WTA to play
She
14?
Yeah, about 14
tournaments a year, and they're protecting her because they don't want them to play too much and burn out too much. So this is a girl who's on the professional circuit and should be. She's phenomenal, but yet a 12-year-old girl played 42 tournaments.
Yeah.
Last year. I can't make this up.
They don't want her to win too much money.
Is that
She's pretty good. I mean,
right.
she won a round or 2 at the U.S. Open.
Yeah. So, but you see the back.
Yeah.
In other words, hey, what's good here? The system, and that gets back to the beginning, and we tied in points to the USTA is the reason for whatever.
Yeah.
And they're kind of tied in, but again, there are limitations on the professionals, but the floodgates, because it is a business, it's different.
Yeah, you and I think we use this expression from sometimes that certain things, hey, it's simple, but it's not easy. And this is something, I gave a girl a full scholarship on the conversation once I verified the conversation. This is when I was a younger coach, which I guess that could have been any time, right? Other than today. But I was recruiting this girl comes in, and we're starting to have that normal conversation. Hey, that little stale conversation. What are you ranked? What are you ranked here, and so forth. So I just asked her, what makes you believe that you can play in my top 6? And she said, well, I played in a tournament a month ago, and I beat your number 4 player.
That's all it took. That's all it took. But you verified it was over. Yeah.
I got I'm not in love with my number 4 player, but he goes, hey, but also I beat a person who beat your number 3 player.
That's that 7 degrees to Kevin Beck. That's what I mean.
Well, I'm only at 2. And then they said, so hey, I beat, and I lost in 3 sets to the person who beat you 2. So I go, well, let me just verify that. Maybe we can if I have a scholarship for you, if you're asking me for a scholarship on my team, right? Yeah. Now, if I have that scholarship available, can I get a commitment from you? So then it turned into, but it was as simple as that. We're not talking rankings. We're not even talking universal tennis ratings. At that point, that conversation, I mean, as a college coach, first of all, how many sets do I need to verify them?
Right.
I mean, do I need to watch them play 100 sets?
But what's funny about that is you can go to your 4 player and they're going to say, well, I had a bad day that day. My girlfriend dumped me and I didn't eat breakfast. And my mom yelled at me.
well, look, if I'm number 4 player in college, they wouldn't do that because I probably caused them more harm than anything else. I put them through more drama.
Right.
But isn't it as simple as that? Hey, let's just go freaking play some tennis. Don't we play tennis to play tennis, George?
That's one thing. That's one thing I say over and over and over again to you and everybody else. I've never seen that there's a group. It meant well, by the way. In other words, hey, look, let me back up. Not everybody's trying to play collegiate tennis.
No, that's
right.
No.
There's exercise. There's social. There's so much that tennis has to offer. Right now, we're focusing on that one thing. Those that are trying to play collegiate tennis, but there are those that play a lot of tennis in relation to lessons, groups, and clinics.
Yep.
And then they go, look, I really want to play collegiate tennis when I get older. And I always go, well, but you're not playing any. You're not playing now. I mean, you're playing tennis, but I thought we played tennis to play tennis, and it's really tough. And I talk. Look, I know it was around here in this section with both of my daughters, is to get matches in your own community because of that everybody's in their own little bubble, right? It's tough. It's easier. It's easier if there's a disconnect. If you're within so many miles of each other, if your families don't know each other, if you whatever the case may be. But people play tennis, and then they don't play tennis. You know, to take it because lessons. The question, I guess, is lessons and clinics. Is that it? Is that what you do it for? But it might be if there's.
Yeah, they can like the socials.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm perfectly fine as long as you know what your goal is and what you're progressing to. I know with some of the clients that I'm consulting with that want to play college tennis, that we hit a home run when we do a couple of things. If I can get them to play competitive tennis against other college players on a college campus with a college coach watching, we just hit a home run.
Right.
You know, which we've done with many of our clients. And it's not necessarily that they'll go to that college, but if you want to play college tennis, then let's play against people who have played in college. If you want to play junior tennis, let's go out there and play with junior tennis players.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you're progressing to. So if I want to play social tennis, I need to go play with other people who want to play social
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing.
But if you're going if the collegiate route is what you're looking for, then you have to play the game. Yeah.
So like we talk about lessons, and then we'll have someone who describes that they want to play college tennis, but then they're taking 4 or 5 lessons. You're not a player. You're a lesson taker.
Right.
Now those people are great to hire for working the camps, by the way, because they know all the drills.
Right.
You know,
right. But and I can describe that lesson. Right. We go through the progression. Right. You go, hey, look, you know, everyone laughs about it when we describe it. Hey, you're going to take a couple short balls for about whatever.
Yeah.
Then he's going to feed you some side to sides.
Side to sides.
Then he's going to feed you one ball. He or she are going to feed you one ball, and then come on in, and you're going to volley a couple overhead serves. They give you a high five on your last serve.
High five.
They give you a high five at the basket. Yeah. You pick up balls and you go home and you feel really good about yourself.
Right. And then the parent comes back the next time. I don't understand. Johnny plays so well when he's taking a lesson with you, but when we go to play a competitive or a tournament match, he just doesn't look that good.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But again,
that's called enabling, right?
But it is part of the machine.
The machine.
And
now, what do you mean by the machine?
Well, the machine is it. No. I'm glad you asked. It only took you. Where are we into this?
That was the 16th the machine. So
I was hoping you'd ask about 3, but so the machine. Look, the machine is this. Look, because when you grow up, you're taught the first thing you do is you go to a clinic. You're told the next thing you do is take a lesson. You're taught the next thing you do is play some matches, and then you play a little bit of tournament play, and then so you fall into the exact same rut as everyone else. In my mind, and you can go through the greats. You go through Pete Sampras. You can talk about these. And growing up, right, the journey itself was just a little bit different. It doesn't always work out that way. So when I say machine, I'm talking about just what everybody does. It's part of it. They get the points at USTA. They play whatever 30-some, 40, whatever they want to bracket these tournaments every year. That's part of the machine. And what I think what you're trying to say, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, is that the it's all about the level, right? It's all about what level you can get to. And I've said this over and over again. They go, hey, look, hey, you know, I'm looking for this number 1 player to come play, you know, for my college. They always say, look, I'm recruiting for a number 1. I don't recruit a 6. Isn't that?
Are we all?
Yeah, recruiting for a number 1. I've got a number 1 right now on the girls team who's a level 10, and I need 5 more of those. And you inside your head you go, no, but that's everybody. Yeah. And by the way, if there were 6 number 10s on the team, you probably wouldn't be the coach. You know what I mean? There'd be another coach. They would upgrade the coach if they're going to go to that level of play, only because of the management that goes with the high level players.
Sure.
The nurturing these high level players.
Yeah, don't recruit yourself out of a job.
Yeah, no.
I've seen that happen on the college level. They recruit too well, and then they can't handle what they got.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's to have and there are a few coaches that have kept a position coaching at a university for a long period of time. And we talked about this.
Sure.
You were one of them. How many years were you at ODU?
I was at Old Dominion for 19 years.
Old Dominion at 19 years. 19. Now Brooke Pilkington, my daughter, is going to the University of Delaware, and Laura Travis was there for what was it, 20?
Yeah, over 20. She was there for all of my 19 plus.
Yes. So you go, they're doing something right. And when you go look, I'm looking at this great university, and it's where I want to be. And I talked to this coach, and they're new. And I go, well, that's great. What did the last coach retire? Did they would they have a party? And no, he was there for a couple of years. What about the coach before? Did he retire? And they go, no. He was there about 5 years. And you go, well, you might want to. There's something going on there, right? And plus the coach. And then we're segueing into another thing, but the coach plays such a big part in that, right? In managing that group of kids.
For sure. Now, speaking of college coaching, and your daughter, you have one going to Delaware now, and I remember you telling me when it was going through, you go, "Hey, I'm spiking the ball in the end zone, or I'm throwing down the mic."
Well, it's dropping the mic, not throwing down the mic. Throwing down the mic was show fit of anger.
Now, I told you I saw Kobe lay down the mic
because they told him he had to pay for it.
Yeah, if he threw it
down.
I saw Kobe score 60, and he laid down the mic at center court.
Well,
what is that? What is?
Well, I did. First, let me back up. I'm going to use my two because that's my two. That's what I know. Yeah, right. Yeah. So my two was with Brittany, who is a senior at George Mason University. We went and it was, hey, look, Dad, we're wasting our time. I don't want to go. But I want to go. I got some other stuff I want to do. I want to go. So we go and we see this great university. Everything's brand new. And the coach puts us on Steve Curtis puts us on a golf cart, and we drive around and we do the circle. And she goes, "This is it." And I said, "But on I-95, I was already planning on now we got to stay longer because now I got to look for more stuff." So then I think I called you and said, "Hey, I think I might be wrong. I think I just spiked the football." Right. In other words, and any parent who's going through this process knows that moment when they go, like I heard Lindsay had told a story just the other day about the phone call she had gotten at 10 o'clock at night from Notre Dame.
Right.
And it was that moment when she said that her mother opened the bedroom door and said, "Hey, Notre Dame's on the phone." They spiked the football. They know exactly what I mean.
They were spiking.
They spiked that football. So I know when Brooke, Brooke goes upstairs to do, and all of our kids, they talk to the coaches, and we hope when they're talking to coaches that they're not embarrassing the good family name.
Right.
So Brooke goes up in the bedroom, my youngest, and has a discussion with Laura Travis, the longtime coach at the University of Delaware, and I'm hearing loud noises, and Brooke is quiet, and she's cool, and I'm hearing it's laughing. It's laughing.
Right.
And I go, uh-oh. Is it? Could it be?
Could be.
And she come down the stairs and she says, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And if I get choked up,
don't
we'll click this off for a minute, and then we'll come back.
This is YouTube live.
We'll say
Saturday Night Live.
Technical difficulties. Technical difficulties.
Yeah, don't.
So look, she comes downstairs and she says, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And I think I want to do this. I think I want to do University of Delaware. And at that moment. And again, it was because of time. Back with Brittany, I said I spiked the football. With this one, I say I dropped the mic. And for those that are not sure what that means, a comedian will tell his last joke, and he'll just drop the mic and walk off stage, and that's the end of it. I think Bobby Knight at Indiana did a great job of dropping the mic.
I think he did it better than any coach in
the history of
he dropped a few mics and threw a few chairs.
Chairs, mics, all that. So at that point, look, we go down this journey, and we talked about, we started with the 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds in the curse.
In the curse.
And then we go through the lessons, and we go through the tournaments, and then we go. But we haven't talked about the part in between the junior tournaments and then spiking the football or dropping the mic. And that's what happens when you go toward these schools. That's easy. You drive around, easy. You can even take an official or an unofficial visit. That's easy.
Right.
Your kid has got to communicate with his coach. And two things that have to happen. Your kid, like I would tell my two, whatever you do, don't embarrass the good Pilkington name.
Yeah.
Right? They knew what I meant. But the coach has an obligation of its own. And like we took many visits, and we spoke to many college coaches, and they all have different techniques. And because of no matter what, they're going to be, this coach is going to be a big part of my kid's life. I
Mhm.
listen to what they said, and I would never get involved. I think I told you the stories
Right.
that we would walk in and I'd shake hands and I'd go, look, my daughter has my cell number. She'll text me when y'all are done. And they go, wait a minute, I thought we were going to have a meeting.
Yeah.
Well, we can, but there's really no need to, because you can see me, 5-6 times a year, and I'll show up for senior day, and I'll if you need me to bring cupcakes, whatever.
Right.
I'm not going to be involved. So there's that period of time that in my mind is more important than anything that we've talked about. Is, can your kid right now pick up the phone, call, because everyone goes, like I talked to someone a couple of days ago, and they go, hey, look, I just sent an email.
Yeah.
Wow. They heard the swoosh. They heard, once they hear the swoosh, they think they're done.
Yeah.
Really? Because you're going to have to, come on. So can they pick up the phone and call? And if they pick up, then what? What happens at that point? Do they communicate well? Do they just spend all their time telling them how great they are? Because that coach, if they're interested, they don't need you to tell, right?
No.
They don't need mom and dad to talk about this. My kid, man, is a grinder. He can hit a 90-mile, whatever, tennis. But can they communicate with the coach on the right level? And I hate to say this, but that's every parent's fear.
Yeah.
Is that hey, we've spent 7, 8, 9 years to get to this point, and then there was no schooling on the communication part.
Right. And nowadays, we go through this with our clients a lot, George, that we're helping find the schools that are best fit. When we get to that, calling the schools that we've established a good list for, something as simple as the skill to make the phone call, and to coach them up on that, to make the phone call. And I'm okay with them making a bad phone call. Just call, and plus the coach will make it easy for you. They'll usually,
it's spoon fed.
Yeah. But dial the number, man.
Yeah.
And then we'll go through that. Hey, if I don't feel that comfortable doing it, well, great, because one day we're going to need to get a job, and we're going to need to. And until CEOs start accepting Snapchat for application process,
it's coming, right?
It's soon to be.
It's
soon to be.
Right.
And
look, just to pick up on that part, and I think what you're alluding to, we're talking about the first one or two, and we joke about this, and Brooke would go, Dad, I'm really nervous to make that phone call.
Yeah.
And I go, well, then let's do this then. Let's make the first couple the coaches that we're not really.
Let's call Daniel Boone Community College.
Let's
got to start with
that.
Daniel Boone.
That's right. Just get the Q&A, and then before again, and then when you know that moment, when I heard that laughing coming from upstairs in the closed bedroom, and of course during these conversations she would always go to her bedroom.
Yeah.
We couldn't be upstairs just in case. Right, because I really don't want to. I don't want to have that.
Yeah.
So we would go downstairs. But when we heard that, I'm like, she's actually communicating with this adult who's been there 20-some years, and it was probably better
than getting the A in science class.
Oh my gosh,
that was better than the A in science class.
That's as real as it gets. So look, that part, if with your clientele, if that, it's almost like there needs to be as much time spent after the age of 16. Working on that stuff, because we all know, like I tell my kid, hey, look, I can find a good surgeon to have that phone sewn to the end of your hand.
That's right.
Right. I mean, put it down, make the phone call, and that's part, I'm sure, of what you cover.
Yeah. Well, George, I think we've had a great day today. Thanks for coming in and sharing some insights, and we look forward to doing this again in the future.
Very good.